Good morning, good night, good afternoon, good evening. I'm really excited to read this book today. So I got this book for $1 at a library in a small town. Stephen King, Under the Dome. After I got it, my mom and my sister told me that there's a TV show or movie. My sister said TV show, my mom said movie, so who knows. But we are on page 65 and Under the Dome. Look at how cute. That shit just flew at me. Look at how cute my bookmarks are. Can you see? And we'll probably read books about death later. This one. Let the Dead Bury the Dead. It's good. It's filled with 12 short stories. Cute bookmark. So that's what we're gonna do. And of course we're gonna watch our cartoons in the background. But so far, let's recap. So there's a plane crash that already happened. There's a helicopter crash that already happened. What everybody knows so far is there's this invisible barrier that all of a sudden just encompassed this town. They aren't quite aware that it encompassed it completely because there's two people trying to find the end of the barrier. Those two people are Barbie, and they called this guy Sea Dogs for a while, but now they came out with his name, which is somewhere. I'm really bad with names, so another great cool thing about this book is it has a map. Thank goodness. And it also has a list of all the people with the names. Gendron. So Barbie and Gendron. What's his full name? That's his last name. I guess they just call him Gendron now, but I want his full name because that feels respectful to this fictional character. Hello. Anyways, there's been multiple deaths already, and Stephen King is really good with let me turn this down for myself. That was really loud for me. But let me tell you the characters that have already been. Okay, so here's the map. We can go back to it when we need it. We can go back to it when we need it. I'll just pull the camera down. Okay. So we have the town officials. There's Andy Sanders, who's the first selectman. They describe him as stupid, basically. They use a lot of adjectives to say this guy is an idiot. They're not very nice about it. They're pretty mean about it. So they call him an idiot. There's Jim Rennie, who's the second selectman, who just got introduced. He is an asshole. His thing is that he feels like he has all the power, but he doesn't have to take responsibility for things that go wrong. So Jim Rennie, second selectman, he sent the fire department that day that the dome went over. He sent the fire department to go do a controlled burn, which the old chief of police called like just men out there having fun burning shit down. But Jim Rennie got Andy Sanders, the first selectman, to sign off on that. So Jim Rennie is like, thank goodness I don't have to take accountability for that super stupid decision because Andy Sanders is the name that's on the OK form. Then there is, let's see, no, police department. Howard Duke Perkins, the chief, he has a pacemaker in. He and his wife have been together for 42 years, if I remember correctly. He was just out in his front yard raking leaves, and then they started hearing sirens. And one, he was okay with. He's like, oh man. Two, he was like, uh-oh. And even his wife was like, that's not good. And then they heard the third one, and the wife was like, oh, you have to go in. Yeah, something bad happened. You have to go in. The chief, Howard Duke Perkins, Chief Perkins, he has really bad hearing. I feel like I'm hunching. He has really bad hearing, so he didn't hear the booms from the plane crash. And there was another boom. There's been a lot of crashes. But he didn't hear the two booms. Another really big crash was this truck carrying 40,000 pounds of logs. So that's 40 tons of logs. He was going 60 down one of the routes, Route 119, and he just smacked straight into the barrier because it's the dome, because it's invisible. So that was another really big car crash. So Perkins' pacemaker just went in. Then I don't think I need to name the whole police. Peter Randolph, assistant chief. Chief Perkins, Howard Duke Perkins thinks Randolph he doesn't like him because he thinks he's lazy. Then the town kids, holy guacamole, there was a murder. The murder was by, where is his name? I have to find his name. The murder was... Okay, Chief Perkins' wife is Brenda Perkins. So Brenda was the one who kissed him goodbye. They had a really nice kiss, I guess. Stephen King said that he already said that Chief Perkins is gonna die, and that's the last time they ever see each other. I am not a fan of that. Stop giving me spoilers. And then I'm mourning this Chief Perkins before anything even happens. Not a fan. Okay. So that's all for now because I can't find the guy who did the murder. He murdered this girl because the night before, he and his friends beat the living shit out of Barbie, the guy who's walking with Gendron around the barrier to try and find the end. Barbie was the first one to see everything happen. He saw a woodchucker get sliced in half by the dome. He saw the plane crash. He was like, what the shit is going on? And then there was a murder. This guy, his name will come up and I'll say his name. But this guy, he suffers from really, really bad migraines. And Stephen King said that his doctor didn't check to see if he had a brain tumor. And he does. We didn't, like, the character doesn't know. Stephen King just likes giving spoilers. Or just likes doing random lore drops before we even get into the story. Um, he had a really bad migraine when he went to this girl's house. It was his friend's ex-girlfriend slash maybe current girlfriend. She was flirting with Barbie. And so the night before he went to her house, they beat the living shit out of Barbie. And so Barbie was like, the next day, I'm leaving. I can't stand living in this town, especially because this group of teenagers slash young adults hate me, and they almost killed me by beating the shit out of me. So he just left with the clothes on his back. And that's why when he was heading out, he saw the woodchucker get sliced in half. He was right at the edge when everything closed. So he saw some horrific things initially. The fucking body parts being flung around, like legs and shoes with a foot in it, but no leg attached to it, random arms from the airplane. There were only 2 people in the airplane. It was like an airplane teaching course. So, back to the murderer. Back to the guy who has a brain tumor that nobody diagnosed for him. He went haywire. He went to go, like, teach the girl a lesson. I already don't like him. Obviously. Who the fuck are you? Your friend can just break up with someone if he doesn't want to be with her. Maybe don't blame the woman. Maybe blame your friend. Maybe blame yourself for going out and choosing to beat the living shit out of this guy. You didn't have to do it. You chose to. So he goes there to teach the girl a lesson. She opens the door. She's like, hey. And he slaps her. She starts bleeding. She's like, what? And then he just starts pounding at her. She tries to run. He grabs her, slams her into the fridge. She's on the floor bleeding out. And then he's like, well, now I just have to kill her. So he strangles her to death. And his migraine at that point is intense, so bad. Then the fire alarm, not in the house, but for the town, starts going woo, woo. And his migraine is getting worse and worse. So he's like, shit, do I run? Do I turn myself in? Or I can kill myself in a video game, in the book. In the book. He's like, or I can commit suicide in the book. So he's like, I'll deal with this after my migraine goes away. He goes home. He takes off his bloody clothes, stuffs them under his bed, puts his head under the covers, and tries to fall asleep. So that's where we're at. Now this next chapter. Let me put my cute bookmark away to the side. This is called Cluster Mug. Okay. Do I want to listen to this? How's the sound? Check. No, this is fine. Okay. When Big Jim Rennie scrunched to a stop in his H3 Alpha Hummer, color, black pearl, accessories, you name it, he was a full 3 minutes ahead of the town cops, which was just the way he liked it. Keep ahead of the competition. That was Rennie's motto. So Big Jim Rennie is the second handsman? What did they call it? He's the one that's an asshole. That's like, well, if anything goes bad, Andy's name is on the paperwork, so I don't have to take accountability for anything. Okay. Andy Sanders, first selectman. Jim Rennie, the one we're meeting right now, Big Jim Rennie, second selectman, which are the town officials. So I'm assuming that's like mayor and vice mayor. Andy Sanders, first selectman, Jim Rennie, second selectman. When Big Jim Rennie scrunched to a stop in his H3... Oh, wait. I almost forgot the most important part. Dara. Cartoons. When Big Jim... I keep forgetting where my camera is. When Big Jim Rennie scrunched to a stop in his H3 Alpha Hummer, color, black pearl, accessories, you name it, he was a full 3 minutes ahead of the town cops, which was just the way he liked it. Keep ahead of the competition. That was Rennie's motto. Ernie Calvert was still on the phone, but he raised a hand in a half-assed salute. Ernie Calvert is just a townsperson. He was told to call the National Guard to put a no-fly zone over the town. Ernie Calvert was still on the phone, but he raised a hand in a half-assed salute. His hair was in disarray, and he looked nearly insane with excitement. Yo, Big Jim, I got through to him. Through to who? Rennie asked, not paying much attention. He was looking at the still burning pyre of the pulp truck, and at the wreckage of what was clearly a plane. This was a mess. One that could mean a black eye for the town, especially with the 2 newest fire wagons over in the rock. A training exercise he had approved of. But Andy Sanders' signature was the one on the approval form, because Andy was first selectman. That was good. Rennie was a great believer in what he called the protectability quotient, and being second selectman was a prime example of the quotient in action. You got all of the power, at least when the first was a nit like Sanders, but rarely had to take the blame when things went wrong. And this was what Rennie, who had given his heart to Jesus at age 16 and did not use foul language. Giving your heart to Jesus? Does that mean just stop cussing? I'm not religious. However, I know your Jesus, Christians. Catholics. When people get mad about cussing because it's foul, unladylike, shouldn't do it around kids, maybe focus on stopping the genocides and ethnic cleansings, stopping the unjust wars. Maybe focus on that before you get mad and offended by fuck. Giving his heart to Jesus, but still thinking that it's okay to not take accountability for your actions. Like sending the 2 newest fire trucks out of town, but letting the blame fall on Andy Sanders. And then the judgment part, being like Sanders is a fucking nit. No accountability, but gave his heart to Jesus at 16. And this was what Rennie, who had given his heart to Jesus at age 16 and did not use foul language, called a cluster mug. Steps would have to be taken, control would have to be imposed, and he couldn't count on that elderly ass Howard Perkins, the chief who on his day off with a pacemaker was like, shit, I'm needed. I must go out now. Must save people. Goodbye, wife. Goodbye, Brenda. And he couldn't count on that elderly ass Howard Perkins to do the job. Perkins might have been a perfectly adequate police chief 20 years ago, but this was a new century. All right, fuckhead. That's not Stephen King's word, that's me. All right, fuckhead. Rennie's frown deepened as he surveyed the scene. Too many spectators. Of course, there were always too many at things such as this. People loved blood and destruction, and some of these appeared to be playing a bizarre sort of game, seeing how far they could lean over or something. I wanted to check the sound. Okay, we're good. I wanted to make sure there wasn't double, you know? I keep forgetting where the camera is. People loved blood and destruction, and some of these appeared to be playing a bizarre sort of game, seeing how far they could lean over or something. Bizarre. You people get back from there, he shouted. You people get back from there, he shouted. He had a good voice for giving orders, big and confident. That's an accident site. Ernie Calvert, another idiot, the town was full of them, Rennie supposed any town was, tugged at his sleeve. He looked more excited than ever. Got through to the ANG, Big Jim, and so ANG I'm assuming is A and National Guard. What does A stand for? Air National Guard. Got through to the ANG, Big Jim, and the who? The what? What are you talking about? The Air National Guard. Worse and worse, people playing games and this fool calling the Ernie. Why would you call them, for gosh sakes? Because he said, the guy said, but Ernie couldn't remember exactly what Barbie had said, so he moved on. Well, anyway, the colonel at the ANG listened to what I was telling him, then connected me with Homeland Security in their Portland office. Put me right through. Rennie slapped his hand to his cheeks, a thing he did often when he was exasperated. It made him look like a cold-eyed Jack Benny. Like Benny, Big Jim did indeed tell jokes from time to time, always clean ones. Because, of course, his heart is with Jesus. Always clean ones. Who is Jack Benny? We're going to go see who Jack Benny is real quick. If that's even in the thing. It's not in the front. Maybe Jack Benny is an old music person? Or an old comedian? I'm 28. Sorry. Like Benny, Big Jim did indeed tell jokes from time to time, always clean ones. He joked because he sold cars, and because he knew politicians were supposed to joke, especially when election time came around. So he kept a small rotating stock of what he called funnies, as in, do you boys want to hear a funny? He memorized these much as a tourist in a foreign land will pick up the phrases of stuff like, where is the bathroom? Or, is there a hotel with internet in this village? But he didn't joke now. Homeland Security? What in the cotton-picking devil for? Cotton-picking was by far Rennie's favorite epithet. Because the young guy said there's something across the road. And there is, Jim, something you can't see. People can lean on it, see? They're doing it now. Or, if you throw a stone against it, it bounces back. Look. Ernie picked up a stone and threw it. Rennie did not trouble looking to see where it went. He reckoned if it had struck one of the rubberneckers, the fellow would have given a yell. The truck crashed into it, into whatever it is, and the plane did too. So the guy told me to slow down. What guy exactly are we talking about? He's a young guy, Rory Dinsmore said. My, sister's dog is shaking everything right now. My sister's dog decided to scratch himself right next to my desk. Stop! Logan! Over. Ay, ay, ay. Slow down. What guy exactly are we talking about? He's a young guy, Rory Dinsmore said. He cooks at Sweetbriar Rose, a restaurant. If you ask for a Hamburg medium, that's how you get it. My dad says you can hardly ever get medium because nobody knows how to cook it. But this guy does. His face broke into a smile of extraordinary sweetness. I know his name. Shut up, Roar, his brother warned. Mr. Rennie's face had darkened. In Ollie Dinsmore's experience, this was the way teachers looked just before they slapped you with a week's worth of detention. Rory, however, paid no mind. It's a girl's name. It's Barbara. Just when I think I've seen the last of him, the cotton picker pops up again, Rennie thought. That darned useless no account. He turned to Ernie Calvert. The police were almost here, but Rennie thought he had time to put a stop to his latest bit of Barbara-induced lunacy. Not that Rennie saw him around, nor expected to, not really. How like Barbara to stir up the stew, make a mess, then flee. "Ernie," he said, "you've been misinformed." Alden Dinsmore stepped forward. "Mr. Rennie, I don't see how you can say that, when you don't know what the information is." Rennie smiled at him, pulled his lips back anyway. "I know Dale Barbara, Alden. I have that much information." He turned back to Aunt Ernie Calvert. "Now if you'll just—" "Hush," Calvert said, holding up a hand. "I got someone." Big Jim Rennie did not like to be hushed. Too bad. Especially by a retired grocery store manager. "Hey, fuck you, Jim." "Fuck you, Jim Rennie." He plucked the phone from Ernie's hand as though Ernie were an assistant who had been holding it for just that purpose. A voice from the cell phone said, "To who am I speaking?" Less than half a dozen words, but they were enough to tell Rennie that he was dealing with a bureaucrat son of a buck. The Lord knew he'd dealt with enough of them in his 3 decades as a town official, and the feds were the worst. We can agree on that, Jim Rennie. "This is James Rennie, 2nd Selectman of Chester's Mill. Who are you, sir?" "Donald Wozniak, Homeland Security. I understand you have some sort of problem out here on Highway 119. An interdiction of some kind?" "Interdiction? Interdiction? What kind of Fed speak was that?" You have been misinformed, sir," Rennie said. "What we have is an airplane, a civilian plane, a local plane, that tried to land on the road and hit a truck. The situation is completely under control. We do not require the aid of Homeland Security." "Mr. Rennie," the farmer said, "that is not what happened." Rennie flapped a hand at him and began walking toward the first police cruiser. Hank Morrison was getting out. Hank Morrison is another police officer. Let me get his stuff out right here. Hank Morrison isn't in the front. That's annoying. Because why are they going to introduce a character, full government name, without having his bio in the front where everybody's bio is supposed to be? Okay. I thought he was a police officer. Hank Morrison. No. Then why'd he get out of the cruiser? Okay, so the list says some, but not all of those in Chester's Mill on Dome Day. Why do I have a list? Why is there a list if you're not going to tell me all of the people? That's okay, Steven. I wish I wasn't so... How do I even put this? Stephen King is not my favorite author. That's how I'm going to put it. And I don't feel like saying more about it. Okay. Hank Morrison. Okay, Rennie flapped a hand at him and began walking toward the first police cruiser. Hank Morrison was getting out. Big 6'5" or so, but basically useless. And behind him, the gal with the big old titties. What? Huh? And behind him, the girl with the big old titties. Weddington, her name was, and she was worse than useless. A smart mouth run by a dumb head. But behind her, Peter Randolph was pulling up. Randolph was the assistant chief, and a man after Rennie's own heart. A man who could get her done. If Randolph had been the duty officer on the night Junior got in trouble at that stupid devil pit of a bar, Big Jim doubted if Mr. Dale Barbara would still have been in town to cause trouble today. In fact, Mr. Barbara, Barbie for short, might have been behind bars over in the Rock, which would have suited Rennie fine. Barbie's only crime was flirting with a girl who had a boyfriend. That's not a crime. Barbie was the one who got beat up by 5 other people. 5v1? And he's the one who's supposed to be behind bars? Give your heart to Jesus. Be an ass. In fact, Mr. Barbara might have been behind bars over in the Rock, which would have suited Rennie fine. Meanwhile, the man from Homeland Security, did they have the nerve to call themselves agents, was still jabbering away. Rennie interrupted him. Thank you for your interest, Mr. Wozner, but we've got this handled. He pushed the end button without saying goodbye, then he tossed the phone back to Ernie Calvert. I'm mad. I'm fucking pissed right now. Jim, I don't think that was wise. Rennie ignored him and watched Randolph stop behind the Weddington Gal's cruiser, bubblegum bars flashing. He thought about walking down to meet Randolph and rejected the idea before it was fully formed in his mind. Let Randolph come to him. That was how it was supposed to work, and how it would work, by God. Two. Big Jim, Randolph said, what's happened here? I believe that's obvious, Big Jim said. Chuck Thompson's airplane got into a little argument with a pulp truck. Looks like they fought it to a draw. Now I could hear sirens coming from Castle Rock. Almost certainly fire department responders. FD for short. They just say FD responders. Rennie hoped their own 2 new and horribly expensive fire wagons were among them. It would play better if no one actually realized the new trucks had been out of town when this clustermug happened. Ambulances and police would be close behind. Why are we not... What is... Ambulances and police would be close behind. That ain't what happened, Alder Dinsmore said stubbornly. I was out in the side garden and I saw the plane just... Better move those people back, don't you think? Rennie asked Randolph, pointing to the looky-loos. There were quite a few on the pulp truck side, standing prudently away from the blazing remains, and even more on the mill side. It was starting to look like a convention. Randolph addressed Morrison and Weddington. Hank, he said, and pointed at the spectators from the mill. Some had begun prospecting among the scattered pieces of Thompson's plane. There were cries of horror as more bodies were discovered. Yo, Morrison said and got moving. Randolph turned Weddington toward the spectators on the pulp truck side. Jackie, you take, but there Randolph trailed off. The disaster groupies on the south side of the accident were standing in the cow pasture on one side of the road and knee-deep in scrubby bushes on the other. Their mouths hung open, giving them a look of stupid interest Rennie was very familiar with. He saw it on individual faces every day, and in mass every March at town meeting. Did who win? Dolly, I'm not watching the cartoons. I have the cartoons in the back because I'm reading and I don't want... I need something going on in the back. How's my voice? Is it too loud? Dolly, is it too loud? I wonder. He saw it on individual faces every day and en masse every March at town meeting. Only these people weren't looking at the burning truck, and now Peter Randolph, certainly no dummy, not brilliant, not by a long shot, but at least he knew which side his bread was buttered on, was looking at the same place as the rest of them, and with that same expression of slack-jawed amazement. So was Jackie Weddington. It was the smoke the rest were looking at, the smoke rising from the burning pulper. It was dark and oily. The people downwind should have been darn near choking on it, especially with a light breeze out of the south, but they weren't. And Rennie saw the reason why. It was hard to believe, but he saw it all right. The smoke did blow north, at least at first, but then it took an elbow bend, almost a right angle, and rose straight up in a plume, as if in a chimney, and it left a dark brown residue behind, a long smudge that just seemed to float on the air. Hey, Jim! Maybe you should have listened, instead of opening your asshole of a mouth. Jim Rennie shook his head. I meant the 5v1? No. Barbie did not win. He got the shit beat out of him so badly that the next morning he was like, I can't stay here. And he left his apartment with all of his belongings and decided he was just gonna head out. No plan. I think he said west. He was just gonna leave, walk with the clothes on his back, try and hitchhike, and just see where he ended up. Because they fucked him up. Over nothing. You might have missed the recap at the beginning. That's okay. That's okay. That's why I'm a talker. Barbie flirted with this girl that had a boyfriend. She flirted back. Okay? These 5 people decided to go beat the shit out of Barbie because they have no emotional regulation. Then, one of the guys that beat the shit out of Barbie, he suffers from migraines. The doctor didn't tell him he has a brain tumor because the doctor didn't check. So this guy suffers from migraines, has no emotional regulation because of the brain tumor. He goes to the girl's house, kills her. Hey, maybe just go have a chat with your friend and be like, break up with this girl. And he's an incel type too. He calls women's vaginas like this derogatory thing. Says they're not good for anything, but everything that's bad in the world is caused by women's vaginas. And I try to keep in mind, he has a brain tumor. He doesn't know about it. He struggles from severe migraines. Brain tumors really fuck you up. I don't like his character at the moment. Trying to be understanding of the brain tumor. He just murdered a woman. So, I don't know how to feel about him right now. So Barbie didn't win. Thank you, voice good. I appreciate the sound check. Anyways. Here's another asshole, Jim Rennie. We've been talking shit about him this whole time. Because he's a fucking shithead. The smoke did blow north, at least at first, but then it took an elbow bend. For visuals. It took an elbow bend, almost a right angle, and rose straight up in a plume, as if in a chimney, and it left a dark brown residue behind. A long smudge that just seemed to float on the air. Jim Rennie shook his head to clear the image away, but it was still there when he stopped. "What is it?" Randolph asked. His voice was soft with wonder. Dinsmore, the farmer, placed himself in front of Randolph. That guy, pointing at Ernie Calvert, had Homeland Security on the phone, and this guy, pointing at Rennie in a theatrical courtroom gesture Rennie didn't care for in the last, took the phone out of his hand and hung up. He shouldn't done that, Pete, because that was no collision. The plane wasn't anywhere near the ground. I seen it. I was covering plants in case of frost, and I seen it. I did too, Rory began, and this time it was his brother Ollie who went up the backside of Rory's head. Rory began to whine. Rory is one of the kids, I believe. Rory and Ollie, let me see. Let me go to the character page, which doesn't list all the characters. No, where's the kids part? Town kids. Ollie and Rory Dinsmore, so they're brothers. Ollie is the older one, Rory is the younger one. I did too, Rory began, and this time it was his brother Ollie who went up the backside of Rory's head. Rory began to whine. So, a thing in this family is they hit the back of the head. The dad hits the back of the head of the kids, and Ollie, the older brother, does that to the younger brother too. And that's when they think the other one's being dumb or doing something stupid. Not a fan. I need to see when this... Okay, quick side note, because I feel like there's racist shit that keeps coming up, like calling stupid people what's it called? Calling stupid people cotton pickers. Disgusting. Obviously, that doesn't have to be fucking said. I need to know what time. Does it say in the back? No. Time period of Stephen King under the dome. Ew. No. Okay, so he wrote it during a period of 2008 and 2009, but when... This doesn't make sense. The novel covers 8 days from October 21st to October 28th, 2017. Then why are they... Racism is fucking rampant. It's alive in all of our institutions. I'm in the United States. But in any colonial... any imperialist... country, it's alive and well. Let me pull up the Wikipedia. So he wrote it in 2008 and 2009, but the novel covers... It can't be 2017. So nothing is telling me the actual time period except that, but then that was deleted off the Wikipedia. Not when did it... time period... Just says October 21st to October 28th. I guess it doesn't have to be a different time period than in the last 10 years because, of course, racism. Of course, the guy who gave his heart to Jesus at age 16, who is now the vice mayor of the town, is super fucking racist. Hey, get to know your Jesus better. I know him. He doesn't stand for that shit. By the way, I'm gonna put on my politics for me, myself, and I. Because I like to know what's going on. Okay, so it's over an 8-day period of a year in which we do not know. The timing sadly makes sense to me because some people think their speck of the planet is how the world works. Agreed, Dolly. And like I said, racism is alive and well in all of our institutions. Oh, let me put chat on screen. Oh. I'll put chat on screen so other people, when they trickle in. It seems when I put first stream, I get more viewers because the fucking people who want to, what's it called? Scam me. Show up. I'll go to like 3 viewers. Maybe I should put that and just ignore the scammers. And then when people come in with the same, what's it called? The same, not gonna lie, you have MGL, you have promise, or whatever the fuck. The same, fuck. Think. The same script. Gosh. When they come in with the same script, I can just block them. Content classification. Are books rated mature? Do I have to put that? Sexual themes, violent and graphic depictions? I think I have to put that. Depictions, does that mean reading? If you're reading something out loud, does that count as a depiction of something? Can count as a depiction if it is done in a way that represents or shows something to the audience. It can be visual, auditory, or performative. I'm gonna put that on because this is Stephen King. Okay, so that's updated. Yeah, let's just ban. I love that you're always so down, Dolly. Would I go against my morals for you? Honestly? Probably. No. It's not on purpose. Stay true to you. It's like, I feel like that's more true to me. Like a smidge. A smidge tiny, can barely see it, cell-sized area, a smidge above values. Enough, that's too sappy. Enough, Athena. Okay. Barbie didn't win. Back to what I was saying. What is it? Randolph asked. His voice was soft with wonder. Dinsmore the farmer Oh, yeah. Rory began to whine. Alden Dinsmore said it hit something. Same thing the truck hit. It's there, you can touch it. That young fella, the cook, said there ought to be a no-fly zone out here, and he was right. But Mr. Rennie, again pointing at Rennie like he thought he was a gosh darn Perry Mason instead of a fellow who earned his daily bread attaching suction cups to cows' titties. Farmers have things to say. Why? And the farmer is more in the right and better a person, I believe, this far into the book, than the fucking vice mayor. Who earned his daily bread attaching suction cups to cows' titties. Wouldn't even talk, just hung up. Rennie did not stoop to rebuttal. You're wasting time, he told Randolph. Rennie is the vice mayor. I know there's so many names. Rennie is the vice mayor, who hung up on Homeland Security and the Air National Guard when the townspeople were trying to set up a no-fly zone over the town because a fucking plane flew into it. And then something they didn't see, but Barbie and Gendron did see as they were trying to figure out where the dome ended. They're walking the perimeter right now. They saw a CBS News helicopter also crash into the dome. So the townspeople trying to set up a no-fly zone over the area were in the right, and then the vice mayor shows up, takes the phone, says, actually, we don't need your help. Sorry, we got the situation under control, because he doesn't know about the dome, because he's not listening to anybody, because he's a fucking dick. Rennie hung up the phone on Homeland Security. So the townspeople are like, this fucking idiot. Good. You're wasting time, he told Randolph, moving a little closer and speaking just above a whisper. He added, the chief's coming. My advice would be to look sharp and control this scene before he gets here. He cast a cold, momentary eye on the farmer. You can interview the witness later. Titty. It's the second time he said titty. By the way, they spell it Tiddy or Tiddy, I mean IES for plural. But the first time he said it was to say that the deputy, the girl, had big titties. The big titty girl who Rennie, the fucking asshole vice mayor, was like, she has no brains but a big ass mouth, so he doesn't like her. You know what? Fuck you. The misogyny and racism in this book, in this small town, is crazy. But, to be fair, the misogyny and racism is coming from the vice mayor, of course, the government of this small town, and from the guy with the brain tumor, the one who said that women's vaginas cause all of the problems in the world. I I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming because this is when I say titty, it's people's thoughts so far. So one was Rennie. He was thinking like this big old titty woman who's stupid and has a big mouth. She's a police officer. That was his thought. And then right now when they said suction cups to cows' titties, it was just another townsperson. Oh no, it was Rennie again. It was the fucking vice mayor who said that the farmer made his bread suctioning cups to cows' titties, so what he had to say was stupid. Oh man. So I don't know, I say that to say I don't know how much of their thoughts are like in the show, because it's not like they've said titty out loud, it's just in their thoughts. And Rennie, he's like, since I gave my heart to the Lord at 16, I do not cuss. I do not cuss. I had this whole rant earlier. You might have missed it. For those in here, I'm not talking to you, Dolly, but to anybody who joins as I'm speaking right now, subscribe if you want to rewind the broadcast. If you want to rewind the broadcast, subscribe. If you want to get notified for the next time we start reading so you don't miss anything, you don't miss my rants, and you don't miss anything that's going on in Stephen King the Dome, and you don't miss any cartoons, obviously, follow and make sure you turn on the bell. You'll get notified. But just so you don't miss, if you do miss anything, subscribe and you can rewind the broadcast. I love you, Dolly. The chief's coming. My advice would be to look sharp and control this scene before he gets here. He cast a cold, momentary eye on the farmer. You can interview the witnesses later. But maddeningly, it was Alden Dinsmore who got the last word. That fella Barber was right. He was right and Rennie was wrong. Yes! You fucking tell him. Titty cups to cows' titties. Mason. Oh wait, it wasn't Mason. Alden Dinsmore. He's another farmer. You fucking tell him. Barbie was right. Rennie was wrong. Fuck that guy. Exactly. Exactly, Dolly. Rennie marked Alden Dinsmore for later action. For fucking what? What are you gonna do, Rennie? He spoke the truth. Factually. Hi, Shadowstar369. We are on page 71 of Under the Dome by Stephen King. Rennie marked Alden Dinsmore for later action. Sooner or later, farmers always came to the selectmen with their hats in their hands, wanting an easement, a zoning exception, something. Hey, fuck you, Rennie. Just trying to use his power to make people's lives harder when they say something he doesn't agree with. And when Mr. Dinsmore next showed up, he would find little comfort if Rennie had anything to say about it. And he usually did. I love Bugs Bunny. Me too. Looney Tunes, my mom made my crib theme when I was a wee little baby. She made my crib theme Looney Tunes. And Tweety Bird was like the biggest part of the Looney Tune theme for my crib. So yeah, Looney Tunes means a lot, and my family calls me Bird. My family calls me Bird now. That's my nickname from my mom and my sister. Control this scene, he told Randolph. Jackie, move those people back, an assistant chief said, pointing toward the looky-loos. Hey, Bird. Hey, Shadow Star. Establish a perimeter. Sir, I think those folks are actually on mutton. I don't care. Move them back. Randolph glanced over his shoulder to where Duke Perkins was working his way out of the Green Chief's car. A car Randolph longed to see in his own driveway, and would, with Big Jim Rennie's help. In another 3 years at the very latest. Castle Rock PD'll thank you when they get here, believe me. What about, she pointed at the smoke smudge, which was still spreading. Seen through it, the October colorful trees looked a uniform dark gray, and the sky was an unhealthy shade of yellowy blue. Stay clear of it, Randolph said, then went to help Hank Morrison establish the perimeter on the Chester's Mill side. But first, he needed to bring Perk up to speed. Jackie approached the people on the pulp truck side. The crowd over there was growing all the time as the early arrivers worked their cell phones. Some had stamped out little fires in the bushes, which was good, but now they were just standing around gawking. She used the same shooing gestures Hank was employing on the mill side and chanted the same mantra. Get back, folks, it's all over. Nothing to see you haven't seen already. Clear the road for the fire trucks and the police, get back. Clear the area, go home, get back. She hit something. Rennie had no idea what it was, but he could see the result. The brim of her hat collided with it first. It bent, and the hat tumbled off behind her. An instant later, those insolent titties of hers... Titties. An instant later, those insolent titties of hers, a couple of cotton-picking gun shells was what they were, flattened. What the fuck, Rennie? God. Such a fucking ass. Then her nose squashed and gave up a jet of blood and splattered against something, and began to run down in long drips like paint on a wall. She went on her well-padded ass with an expression of shock on her face. The goddarn farmer struck his oar in then. See? What'd I tell you? Randolph and Morrison hadn't seen. Neither had Perkins. The three of them were conferring together by the hood of the chief's car. Rennie briefly considered going to Weddington, but others were doing that, and besides, she was still a little too close to whatever it was she'd run into. He hurried toward the men instead, set face and big hard belly projecting get-her-done authority. He spared a glare for Farmer Dinsmore on his way by. I mean, Remy, you're the one who hung up on Homeland Security. You're the one who didn't listen to anybody. Rennie is the vice mayor. We don't fuck with him. He's an asshole. He's a misogynist. He's a racist. He's a classist. We don't fuck with Rennie. He hung up on Homeland Security when the townspeople were like, no, we need to set up a no-fly zone, dude. So, he didn't like that the farmer told him that he was wrong. So he spared a glare for Farmer Dinsmore on his way by. Chief, he said, butting in between Morrison and Randolph. Big Jim, Perkins said, nodding. You didn't waste any time, I see. This was perhaps a gibe. A jibe? G-I-B-E? Yeah, we don't fuck with Remy, Dolly. Remy. You didn't waste any time, I see. This was perhaps a jibe. But Rennie, a sly old fish, did not rise to the bait. I'm afraid there's more on here than meets the eye. I think someone had better get in touch with Homeland Security. Yeah, maybe. Maybe you shouldn't have hung up on them. He paused, looking suitably grave. I don't want to say there's terrorism involved, but I won't say there isn't. What? What is this? The most unlikable person. 3. Duke Perkins looked past Big Jim. Jackie was being helped to her feet by Ernie Calvert and Johnny Carver, who ran mill gas and grocery. So Jackie just ran into the dome. Her hat flew off, her boobies flat. As Stephen King, we needed to know. Her boobies flatted. Oh yeah, this is better than the show. Yay. Because I never saw the show. I didn't know it turned into a show. My sister told me it was a show. My mom said it was a movie. I didn't know which one it was. But I'm really happy I didn't know, because I might have just, I don't know. I'm happy I'm reading the book instead. A book I bought at a library in a small town. That's where I got it. Support your libraries. Support your local libraries. Duke Perkins looked past Big Jim. Jackie was being helped to her feet by Ernie Calvert and Johnny Carver, who ran mill, gas, and grocery. She was dazed and her nose was bleeding, but she appeared all right otherwise. Nevertheless, this whole situation was hinky. Of course, any accident where there were fatalities felt that way. Of course, any accident where there were fatalities felt that way to some extent, but there was more wrong here. What is that sentence? For one thing, the plane hadn't been trying to land. There were too many pieces, and they were too widely scattered for him to believe that. And the spectators, they weren't right either. Randolph hadn't noticed, but Duke Perkins did. They should have formed into one big spreading clump. It was what they always did, as if for comfort in the face of death. Only these had formed 2 clumps, and the one on Mutton's side of the town line marker was awfully close to the still burning truck. Not in any danger, he judged, but why didn't they move over here? The first fire truck swept around the curve to the south. 3 of them. Duke was glad to see that the second one in line had Chester Mills Fire Department Pumper Number 2 printed in gold on the side. The crowd shuffled back farther into the scrubby bushes, giving them room. Duke returned his attention to Rennie. What happened here? Do you know? Rennie opened his mouth to reply, but before he could, Ernie Calvert spoke up. There's a barrier across the road. You can't see it, but it's there, Chief. The truck hit it, the plane too. Damn right, Dinsmore exclaimed. Officer Weddington hit it too, Johnny Carver said. Lucky for her, she was going slower. He had placed an arm around Jackie, who looked dazed. Duke observed her blood on the sleeve of Carver's I got gassed at mill discount jacket. Could have been both like Snowpiercer. I don't know Snowpiercer. I just feel like anything the CW does, because you said that the show was on the CW. I just feel like anything the CW does is going to be the baby version of anything something could have been. You know, if this was an HBO, Snow was on HBO. Yeah, see, I was just about to say, if Under the Dome turned into an HBO show instead of a CW show, I'm sure it would have been so much better. So much more intense. So much better. What did I do? I lost viewers. I had 3. I appreciate you, Dolly. It would have been so much scarier. It would have been so much scarier, so much more intense, so much more, I feel like detailed. I was about to say intricate. Detailed, especially with a thick, like, it could have been really good. The CW, man. Baby hour. On the Mutton side, another FD truck had arrived. They say FD, fire department, whatever. FD truck had arrived. The first 2 had blocked the road in a V. Firemen were already spilling out and unrolling hoses. Duke could hear the warble of an ambulance from the direction of Castle Rock. Where's ours? He wondered. Had it also gone to that stupid damn training exercise? So the vice mayor sent the 2 newest trucks to go do a controlled burning he called a training exercise. He had the mayor sign off on it, so he's like, thank goodness my name isn't on it. I have all the power. I don't have to take any of the responsibility. The guy who gave his heart to Jesus at 16, no accountability. What a surprise. He didn't like to think so. Who in their right mind would order an ambulance to an empty, burning house? There seems to be an invisible barrier, Rennie began. Yeah, I got that, Duke said. I don't know what it means, but I got it. He left Rennie and went to his bleeding officer, not seeing the dark red color that suffused the second selectman's cheeks at this snub. The vice mayor's second selectman, same thing. Jackie? Duke asked, taking her gently by the shoulder. All right? Yeah. She touched her nose where the blood flow was slowing. Does it look broken? It doesn't feel broken. It's not broken, but it's going to swell. Think you'll look all right by the time the harvest ball comes around, though? Aw. She offered a weak smile. Chief, Rennie said, I really think we ought to call someone on this. If not Homeland Security, on more mature reflection that seems a little radical, then perhaps the state police. Duke moved him aside. It was gentle but unequivocal. Almost a push. Rennie balled his hands into fists, then unrolled them again. He had built a life in which he was a pusher rather than a pushy. But that didn't alter the fact that fists were for idiots. Witness his own son. All the same, slights needed to be noted and addressed. Usually at some later date, but sometimes later was better. Sweeter. Peter, Duke called to Randolph, give the health center a shout and ask where the hell our ambulance is. I want it out here. Morrison can do that, Randolph said. He had grabbed the camera from his car and was turning to snap pictures of the scene. You can do it. And right now. Chief, I don't think Jackie's too banged up. And no one else. When I want your opinion, I'll ask for it, Peter. Randolph started to give him a look, then saw the expression on Duke's face. He tossed the camera back on the front seat of his shop and grabbed his cell phone. What was it, Jackie? Duke asked. I don't know. First there was a buzz feeling like you get if you accidentally touch the prongs of a plug when you're sticking it into the wall. It passed, then I hit. Geez, I don't know what I hit. An ah sound went up from the spectators. The firemen had trained their hoses on the burning pulp truck, but beyond it, some of the spray was rebounding, striking something and splattering back, creating rainbows in the air. Duke had never seen anything like it in his life, except maybe when you were in a car wash, watching the high-pressure jets hit your windshield. Then he saw a rainbow on the millside as well, a small one. Of the spectators, Lissa Jamieson, the town librarian, walked toward it. Lissa, get away from there, Duke shouted. She ignored him. It was as if she were hypnotized. She stood inches from where a jet of high-pressure water striking thin air and splashing back, her hands spread. He could see drops of mist sparkling on her hair, which was pulled away from her face and bunned at the back. The little rainbow broke up, then reformed behind her. Nothing but mist, she called, sounding rapturous. All that water over there, nothing but mist over here. Like from a humidifier. Peter Randolph held up his cell phone and shook his head. I get a signal, but I'm not getting through. My guess is that all these spectators, he swept his arm in a big arc, have got everything jammed up. Duke didn't know if that were possible, but it was true that almost everyone he could see was either yakking or taking pictures, except for Lissa. Lissa. Except for Lissa. That was who is still doing her wood nymph imitation. Go get her, Duke told Randolph. Pull her back before she decides to haul out her crystals or something. Randolph's face suggested that such errands were far below his pay grade, but he went. Duke uttered a laugh. It was short but genuine. What in the goodness sakes do you see that's worth laughing about? Rennie asked. More Castle County cops were pulling up on the Mountain side. If Perkins didn't look out, the Rock would end up taking control of this thing, and getting the gosh darn credit. Duke stopped laughing, but he was still smiling, unabashed. It's a cluster mug, he said. Isn't that your word, Big Jim? And in my experience, sometimes laughing is the only way to deal with a cluster mug. Aw, I like Duke. I think Duke is the chief, the old man that Rennie was like, yeah, Howard Duke Perkins. Rennie, the asshole, is, Rennie, the asshole, second vice mayor. I'm gonna call him vice mayor because fuck it. Rennie said that Duke was too old, that it was a new country now, that he might have been a good police chief 20 years ago, but now he should leave. I like Duke, though. He and his wife have been together for 42 years. His wife's name is Brenda. Duke has a pacemaker in his heart, or a pacemaker to help his heart. And they said wood nymph because what happened on the barrier was the fire department was blasting the fire right outside the dome. And there was just small parts of mist going in past the dome. And so because it was just tiny bits of mist going into the dome, it looked like there was a rainbow. And the librarian went up to it and she was like feeling the mist and like in awe and stuff. And so he said that she was doing like wood nymph cosplay basically. I have no idea what you're talking about, Rennie almost shouted. The Dinsmore boys stepped back from him and stood beside their father. I know, Duke spoke gently, and that's okay. All you need to understand right now is that I'm a chief law enforcement officer on the scene, at least until the county sheriff gets here, and you're a town selectman. Second selectman, vice mayor, for what I say. You have no official standing, so I'd like you to move back. I like that Rennie's getting sassed. Good. Maybe don't hang up on Homeland Security. Maybe listen to people who are at the scene. Duke raised his voice and pointed to where Officer Henry Morrison was stringing yellow tape, stepping around two largest pieces of airplane fuselage to do it. I'd like everyone to move back and let us do our job. Follow Selectman Rennie. He's going to lead you behind the yellow tape. I don't appreciate this, Duke, Rennie said. God bless you, but I don't give a shit, Duke said. Oh! The girls are fighting! God bless you, but I don't give a shit, Duke said. Get off my scene, Big Jim, and be sure to go around the tape. No need for Henry to have to string it twice. Chief Perkins, I want you to remember how you spoke to me today, because I will. Biggest eye roll. Exactly. Rennie stalked toward the tape, but the other spectators followed, most looking over their shoulders to watch the water spray off the diesel-smudged barrier and form a line of wetness on the road. A couple of the sharper ones, Ernie Calvert for instance, had already noticed that this line exactly mimicked the border between Moughton and the mill. Rennie felt a childish temptation to snap Hank Morrison's carefully strung tape with his chest, but restrained himself. He would not, however, go around and get his Land's End slacks snagged in a mess of burdocks. They had cost him $60. He shuffled under, holding up the tape with one hand. His belly made serious ducking impossible. Behind him, Duke walked slowly toward the place where Jackie had suffered her collision. He held one hand outstretched before him, like a blind man prospecting his way across an unfamiliar room. He was where she had fallen down, and here he felt the buzzing she had described, but instead of passing, it deepened to searing pain in the hollow of his left shoulder. He had just enough time to remember the last thing Brenda, his wife, had said. Take care of your pacemaker. And then it exploded in his chest with enough force to blow open his Wildcat sweatshirt, which he donned that morning in honor of this afternoon's game. Blood, scraps of cotton, and bits of flesh struck the barrier. The crowd ahed. Duke tried to speak his wife's name and failed, but he saw her face clearly in his mind. She was smiling, then darkness. Oh my god, Chief Duke just died. His wife, Brenda, before he left, they did a really big kiss. They've been together married for 42 years. He rubbed her neck. It was like a really passionate kiss. Every time he left to go on police duty, he hugged her really tight. Every time. After 42 years. Every time. And as he was driving away, she said, "Take care of your pacemaker." Oh my god. Oh my god. Dolly, same. Oh my god. His pacemaker fucking exploded out of his chest. I love this. Duke tried to speak his wife's name. I don't love that he died, but this last 3 sentences. Duke tried to speak his wife's name and failed, but he saw her face clearly in his mind. She was smiling. Then darkness. Okay. Look. 4. I think I need to take a sip of something. Chief Perkins? The very same. I'm thinking the prognosis ain't good if the pacemaker blew right out of his chest, which is what Peter Randolph is claiming. But he is the chief of police. Fearless leader. Twitch, buddy. A pacemaker can't blow like that. It's perfectly impossible. Then maybe he is still alive and we can do some good, Twitch said. Halfway around the hood of the ambo, he took out his cigarettes. You're not smoking in the ambulance, Rusty said. Twitch looked at him sadly. Unless you share, that is. Twitch sighed and handed him the pack. Ah, Marlboros, Rusty said. My favorite OPs. You slay me, Twitch said. They're so cute. I have big forehead. I think I'm going to end this one. All right, folks. I'll be right back. I appreciate everybody who came. I'm going to be right back, though.